Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Vancha Kalpataruyasha Kripa Sindhu Vaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All wishes of Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. This is Shamarasika Devdasi from Germantown, Maryland. I welcome all the devotees on the early morning call today. Today's spiritual quote for holy name is even the very sound of the holy name of the Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spirituality. Hare Krishna. Uh, this is quote from Srimad Bhagvatam by Srila Prabhupada. May I know who is there on the call today?
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Sri Badarayani Das calling from New Vrindavan, West Virginia. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Shri Badarayani Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining and welcome to the call. After long time, it was nice to hear you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Pooja from Sydney.
Hare Krishna, Puja Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj. This is Manidhar Das.
Hare Krishna, Manidhar Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Nikunja Rasa, us from Germantown, Maryland.
Hare Krishna, Kunjaras Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Madhava Pranam to you and all the devotees on the call. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Rupini Padma Devi Dasi from Orlando, Florida. And thank you for taking up the greeting, Mataji, as I have to leave soon for an appointment. Hare Krishna.
Yes, no problem, Mataji. I thought the same. So, Hare Krishna, Rupini Padma Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna. Anybody else would like to announce their name? Yeah. So today we are celebrating Balaram Purnima and Raksha Bandhan Purnima also. So happy Balaram Purnima and Raksha Bandhan to all of you. And I will start the recording now. Hare Krishna, we are so fortunate to have His Grace Sri Badarayani Prabhu from New Vrindavan, West Virginia, and Prabhuji will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagvatam 6.9.43 and Lord Balaram Appearance Day. So please take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. I'll go ahead and I will chant Mangalacharan and then discuss on the subject. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Tantvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Namavam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavad Paschatya Desatarini Namo Mahavadanya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Tvishe Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Yevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So as Mataji mentioned, we are reading from Canto 6, is entitled as Prescribed Duties for Mankind, and Chapter 9, which is Appearance of Demon Pratasura. Now we are reading text number 43. As you are all following the Srimad Bhagavatam daily on this Zoom call, so you may be knowing, now demons, after looking at the appearance of Pratasura, they are scared looking at his body, and as well as looking at his prowess, the strength of this demon. They are amazed and they are scared, and they started praying to Supreme Lord, who is there in everybody's heart as Paramatma. So as they continue to pray, so this is one of the prayer as they are praying to Paramatma. And the later verses we can see how Supreme Lord, after their prayers, he appears to them, to their vision, within their heart, and then he appears in front of them personally as such. That is, it's going to come in the later verses as such. So today I'm not reading verse, I'll read translation and then purport. Then we will discuss. Translation: Dear Lord, you are omniscient, and therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet, which provide shade that gives relief from all material disturbances. Since you are the supreme spiritual master and you know everything, we have sought shelter of your lotus feet for instruction. Please give us relief by counteracting our present distress. Your lotus feet are the only shelter for a fully surrendered devotee and are the only means for subduing all tribulations of this material world. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One need only seek shelter of the shade of the Lord's lotus feet. Then all the material tribulations that disturb him will be subdued, just as when one comes under the shadow of a big tree, the disturbances caused by the heat of the scorching sun are immediately mitigated. Without once asking for relief, Therefore, the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord. The conditioned soul suffering from various tribulations because of existing in this material world can be relieved only when he seeks shelter at the lotus feet. I would like to read the last sentence. The conditioned soul suffering from various tribulations because of existing in this material world can be relieved only when he seeks shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. Now, as the Devas praying to the Supreme Lord as a Paramatma, as Krishna talks about, it's a Paramatma position. As a Paramatma is the witnesser, he witnesses everything what a living entity is going through. And of course, he is a sanctioner also, and he gives the sanction. So the Devas they're talking about, since he is present in everybody's heart, and he knows what's going on in everybody's heart as such. And they're saying you are omniscient, therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet. The first point they're talking to the Supreme Lord is that you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet. So it does not mean that Krishna knows everything, so we should not take shelter or we should not pray to Krishna. Now, if you go to see in Srimad Bhagvatam, it talks about most of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about the prayers of different personality, the Supreme Lord. Prayers of Brahma, and then prayers of Devas. Prayers of Devas before Krishna is taking birth, or prayers of the Devas whenever they are in a difficult situation. So we get to see the prayers are the constantly we can get to read in Srimad Bhagavatam. Even though Krishna is omniscient, even though he knows very well why we are taking shelter, but still one has to pray to Supreme Lord. That is our disposition as a living entity. And then further the Devas they talk about that taking the shelter of that lotus feet. And what is the characteristics of the lotus feet? That provides the shade that gives relief from all material disturbances. So once when we take shelter of the Supreme Lord, then one gets a relief from all material disturbances. I'm forgetting one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. It talks about how taking shelter of a Supreme Lord's lotus feet, which relieves us from all the miseries. Sorry, I'm not remembering. I normally practice this, reciting this verse. It's very beautiful. Padam padam yad vipadam talks about. At every step there is a danger, but those who take in the shelter of Supreme Lord, that lotus feet is compared to the boat. And that boat, pardon? That boat, it can cross over the material existence. So we see how taking a shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, which gives relief from all material disturbances. And then the Devas are talking about further. I mean, we can talk about that. Here we can see each and every point or each and every sentence we can discuss for hours together. We can talk about. In itself, it is a subject matter where we can talk about. Maybe we'll come back to that, how taking a shelter of a lotus feet of Supreme Lord gives a relief from all material distresses. And then next they're talking about, since you are the Supreme Spiritual Master. Now, today is a Balaram Jayanti, where we see Krishna expands himself as a Balaram, and Krishna is known as a Bhagavan, and Balaram is also known as a Bhagavan, but Balaram is known as the servitor God, or in Hindi we can call him as the Sevaka Bhagavan. And Balaram ji, he is actually also known as the Guru, and he is the original spiritual master, and he is known as Adi Guru, that is original spiritual master. And because of Balaram is the Sevaka Bhagavan, so he actually provides everything for Krishna. That is the whole purpose of Balaram's existence. The whole purpose of Balaram is being, he wants to give pleasure to Supreme. And Balaramji is not only giving that, and he becomes as a spiritual master, so that he wants to engage other living entities also into the service of Krishna. That is a Baldev. And then here they're talking about, he is the supreme spiritual master. Krishna is a spiritual master for Lord Brahma, and then Lord Brahma is spiritual master for Narada Muni, and then the parampara comes. Other than Brahma, also Krishna is the spiritual master for everyone as such. So then the Devas, they're praying to Krishna, please give us a relief by counteracting our present distress. Now we see Chaturvide Bhajante Ma, Krishna talks about in Bhagavad Gita. Artho Arthati. So those who are in distress, are those who are inquisitive, are those who are looking for material gains. They all worship Krishna. So here, as the Devas are in distress, so they are worshipping Krishna here. They are praying to Krishna. And finally, the Devas talk about, your lotus feet are the only shelter for a fully surrendered devotee, and are the only means for subduing all tribulations of this material world. Some of things may be repeating, but that's how, when we repeat something more and more and more, that we are, we are stressing the importance of that particular point. Where Devas are talking about, previously they talk about relief from all material disturbances, if you take shelter of a lotus feet of Krishna. And then here also they're talking about, that is the only means for subduing all tribulations in this material. Now Rupa Goswami, he writes in one of the book known as the Nectar of Devotion, and he talks about the 6 characteristics of a pure devotional service. And when we see this, one can understand what this particular verse is talking about. The first and the foremost one which Rupa Goswami he talks about is about Klesha, the 6 characteristics. First characteristic is Klesha. Klesha means the miseries, Agni means fire. Klesha Agni. The miseries are put onto fire when one takes up the devotional service. We can talk about, all of this we can talk about, but then time will not permit. Maybe we can talk about one, then we can see how that is helpful for us. And the second one talks about Subhada. Subhada is nothing but all auspiciousness. So just by taking up the devotional service, one need not to be a pure devotee. Just by taking up a devotional service, one can get relief from all kinds of material distress. That's what's called as the Klesha Agni. And then second character talks about Subhada, that means all auspiciousness. Devotional service is all auspiciousness. There is nothing more auspicious than devotional service. And then third one, it talks about moksha lagutaka. The moksha, that is the liberation, devotional service derides the conception of liberation. Lagutakrita, it shows the moksha as a smaller thing. Lagu, the laguta, lagutakrita. So it becomes a small, it becomes immaterial whether really that person want to have a liberation. Why? Because when you take up a devotional service, the whole concentration is to serve the Supreme and his devotees. So the moksha and all gaya tele, not at all interested in that. So that is the third character talks about. And fourth one is a sudurlabha. It's rarely achieved. These are all not at this point of time for our discussion as such, but then just we can see how pure devotional service brings up so many things actually. It's very rare. That's what Krishna talks about. Manushyana sahasreshu kaschidyatata siddhaye in Bhagavad Gita. He talks about. And the fifth one he talks about is that Sandrananda Vishesha. So as we performing a devotional service, that automatically puts one into the transcendental pleasure. And then the last and not the least talks about that is the only one thing that attracts Krishna's attention. Sri Krishna Akarshin. That is the only means one can attract Krishna. So when you talk about Kleshagni, that is the pure devotional service, gives immediate relief from all kinds of sinful reactions or material distresses, which we can talk about. So when we don't take up a devotional service, normally this is discussed with some, drawing on the board. We make a circle and there are certain points. At each and every point we talk about. So it comes, first one is the papam, and then bijam, it comes. It starts with the bijam. That is, when we have certain desires, that desire starts with as a seed as such. And then slowly, why this bijam comes? This bijam or papam, because of avidya, ignorance. What is that ignorance? That ignorance is nothing but we are this body and we are the enjoyers. What is the actual idea? That is Jivera Swarupoy Krishna Nityadas. So when we have this ignorance, with that ignorance, whatever you do, even it is known as the so-called pious activity, that becomes as a sinful act. When we do the things with avidya. So when we perform the activities with avidya, then we are having this papam, which is coming from the bijam. And that bijam fructifies into papam, and then the papam, when you perform that activity, then it gives two kinds of reactions. One is prarabdha and the other one is aprarabdha. Prarabdha is which is the immediate reaction for that activity, which is, for example, what we can talk about is the fact that we have this material body, that is prarabdha for us. Because of we committed sinful activities, that's how we are having this material body. And aprarabdha, that is the results or the reactions that are coming in the future as such, aprarabdha. And then when this aprarabdha, that means if somebody is stole something and then somehow they escape, they're thinking they're escaped, but eventually the government agency is going to catch them and then put them into the jail. So that is aprarabdha is waiting for them as such. So when aprarabdha is waiting, and slowly that will become like a kutam. And then the kutam will fructify into bijam. And that bijam, when it matures, then one performs the papam. One gets into the activity. So this circle is a vicious circle. It continues. But if somebody takes up the devotional service, then that bijam is, it's like when there is grass, if you keep cutting grass and it keep growing again and again and again. So even if you perform prayaschitta, that prayaschitta will mitigate reaction, but then it does not stop aprarabdha, that prayaschitta does not stop the bijam or kutam. It will not stop. That will continue to do. So when we have this aprarabdha, if somebody did something, activity, which is not advisable or which is not according to Vedic scriptures, along with prarabdha, along with aprarabdha, as this aprarabdha, along with that, one gets the desire to commit that activity again. And that becomes as a bijam. And then it fructifies more and more and more, it becomes kutam, and then one starts performing that activity as such. So when we take up devotional service, what we are doing is we are putting this grass on fire as such. So it won't grow again when you put on fire. Or in other words, when you take this bijam seed and then when you fry it, then it does not germinate as such. Then plant won't grow from that seed. So as one take up a devotional service, one need not be, why we are discussing this particular point so much, is that one need not to be a pure devotee to feel relief from distress, from material distress as such. As soon as one take up devotional service, one can immediately feel relief from this material distress. Because of the klesha. It is just a starting point. It's not even, one, in our language, we can talk about if one may be doing just one round or two rounds, they themselves, they can experience the klesha. It's not a rocket science that one has to Or it's not that one has to practice 20 years and then only they get to understand that, yeah, it is getting a great relief from material distress. So no, just by taking up a devotional service, even with feeble faith, if one practice and if one does this, if even one start doing one mala of Hare Krishna mantra, and that itself shows them the relief from this material distress as such. And that is the first and the foremost characteristic of pure devotional service. For that, it is not necessary that one has to be a pure devotee, just a normal, even the we can say the person who is at the initial stages of a devotional service, they also can feel the relief from the material distress. And the second one it talks about is the Subhada. It is all auspicious. One can feel these two characteristics. Even a devotee, neophyte devotee can feel these two characteristics. And that's what the Devas are talking about. Just by taking the shelter at your lotus feet, one will feel very wonderfully. One feels that the distress, relief from the distress, they can experience it. So the Devas, they're praying to Supreme Lord that how this taking a shelter at lotus feet of Supreme Lord, it subdues all the tribulations. And Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example, wonderful example. Is anybody can easily understand that. And especially those who are coming from India and those who are here in the summer season. Somebody is in summer season, we can experience the heat. But as soon as you go under the tree, one can feel a relief from this heat, just going under the shade of a tree. The same way, if one, just by taking shelter at the lotus feet of Supreme Lord, one gets a relief from these material distresses. So like as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, there is everything in this material world. One thing it is lacking is that is lack of Krishna consciousness. So if everybody can understand this, and then if they take the shelter of Supreme Lord, then there is no material distresses in this material world. And there is no material disturbances in this material. It does not mean that we will be freed from all the problems in our life. No, the nature of this material world is to give us the problems. That's going to be there. It's continue to be there as such. Are the devotees are not going through problems in their life? They are going through the problem because that is the nature of this material. Just like it says that you are jumping in the pool of a water and expecting yourself not to get wet becomes as a foolishness. Just by taking up a devotional service, one is not going to be troubled by any problems or disturbances. It is a foolishness. Or it's like getting up early in the morning and not brushing our teeth when we keep chanting Hare Krishna mantra, expecting that our mouth will be purified and we don't get smell. It is a stupidity. That's not the point which Devas are talking about. That's not the point which Srimad Bhagvatam talks about, or for that matter, any Vedic scriptures talk about. The disturbances will be there, but when we take up shelter of a spiritual master, shelter of lotus feet of Krishna, then there is a relief from distresses. That how much is the relief depending upon our surrender. That is the relief one gets. But as you go under the tree, is it that the sun is gone? No, sun is there very well. The heat is there very well. But the only thing is you have taken shelter of the tree. You are sitting under the tree. Until you sit under the tree, then there is no distress as such. There is no heat. But as soon as you come out of it, there is heat. Okay. And today is being Balram Jayanti, and I think there is a request about discussion about Lord Balram. When we need to understand Balaram, first of all, we need to understand Lakshman. If one has to understand Lakshman, one has to look at Anantashesh. So even though Krishna expands himself as Anantashesh or Lakshman or Balaram, as I mentioned, the whole, their existence is to serve Supreme Lord, to give him a pleasure. We can see Anantashesh or Lakshman, they are very much humble, and then very much in line with the thoughts of Supreme Lord. Whatever he says, they follow it. But Balramji, you find it something different. At many places, it appears that he is going against the will of Krishna. But then at the same time, we talk about him as he is the one who gives a pleasure to Krishna. So as I was telling, that he is a Sevaka Bhagavan, and he is the initial spiritual master, Adi Guru. As Krishna expands himself into Balaram, first expansion is Balaram. And Balaram expands himself into all the paraphernalia of Krishna. He expands everything, whatever that gives pleasure to Krishna is a Balaram. It can be a Mridanga, it can be Kartal, it can be Krishna's sandals, or it can be flute, or it can be Krishna's garments, or it can be Vrindavan itself, Govardhan, Vrindavan, Yamuna, everything is the expansion of Balaram. Whatever gives pleasure to Krishna, that is the Balaram. To that level, Balaram expands to give pleasure to Krishna. Now, if you see giving pleasure to Krishna, how Lakshman was continuously in serving, in the service of Lord Ram. When they go to forest, Lakshman is the one who is creating a way for them, for Lord Ram and Sita. He is cutting the grass, and he is cutting the trees, he is cutting the plants, he is making their way to go. And Lakshman is the one who is building the hut for them. And Lakshman is the one who is guarding Lord Ram and Sita when they are taking rest. It is not necessary for Lakshman to go to the forest. Kaikeyi, Dasharatha Maharaj did not ask Lakshman to go with Lord Ram. But Lakshman, without Ram, there is no Lakshman. The whole existence is for Lord Lakshman. And same thing which we can see with Balaram. Balaram may not be doing all those things. Because of certain reasons, Balaramji or Lakshman decided then he won't be as his younger brother. Instead, he wants to be the elder brother so that he can command things with the Supreme Lord. And that's how he becomes as an elder brother. And Balaram is known as Baladev and Balaram and Haladar, Halayuda. He carries plow. Krishna carries flute, and Balaram also carries gada. Balaramji is Krishna talks about Goraksha, protecting the cows. Krishna's flute signifies the protection of cows. As he's playing the flute, he is calling a different cows of different names. All of them are coming running towards Krishna. The Krishna is talking about, or he is representing Krishna's flute as the Goraksha. But Balaramji represents the Krishi. Balaramji from the birth well known that he is the son of a Kshatriya, he is the son of Vasudeva. But whatever he did in his childhood, everything is to support Krishna, is to give company to Krishna. He also acted like a Vaishya. He is not acted like a Kshatriya till he is there in Vrindavan. He never acted like I am Kshatriya, I need fighting, nothing. He is also with Krishna in the cow protection, taking care of Gomat. He is taking care of cows, taking care of calves. Mother Rohini also did not stop Lord Balaram as such. And Balaram is holding the plow. He is known as the god for the farmers as such. The farmers, they worship Lord Balaram. When they are harvesting or when they are about to start agriculture for any season as such. At some places, they actually put Lord Balaram's deity and worship the deity because he represents the Krishi. Krishi and Goraksha. Two of them represents both agriculture and the cow protection. Then Vanijyam. With whatever you get, that you do the business, mercantile business with that. So the Balaramji, apparently it appears that he is angry and he is not liking the way things are happening, and apparently it appears that he is going against Krishna, but his whole idea is to increase or give flavor to that pastime. More flavor, more relishing with Balaramji's attitude, with Balaramji's behavior, that increases the flavor in that pastime for that Leela. That is the Balaram. And it says that Balaramji's plow, it is as the plow goes into the earth and then topples the earth, the same way Balaramji uses his plow to take out anarthas from our heart. Our heart is a field and Balaramji is plowing that field before Krishna enters into that heart. He makes this heart, hard ground, into soft by plowing, by tilling that place with his plow. That is Balaram. That's why he is known as Adi Guru. It's not that he is only serving, but actually he is engaging others also to serve in that activity. He is encouraging others by becoming their spiritual master and then giving them opportunities to serve. So that is Balaram. So Balaramji's mercy is a must, without which we cannot progress in spiritual life. Balaramji he shows, even though sometimes he appears to be very angry in mood, and then he is very strong in his decisions. But then Balramji is showing actually a mercy which is going to show in the next incarnation as a Nityananda Prabhu. By taking on the side of a demon and trying to give them mercy to Duryodhana, his party as such. There itself he was giving us a little bit hint that how he wants to be on the side of the demons, so he can protect them and give them mercy, just like Lord Shiva. How Lord Shiva is always want to give mercy to these living entities which are condemned in this material world. That is the Balaram. Okay, I'll stop here and then see if anybody is having any questions or comments. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I hope all can hear me.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for a wonderful class. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for enlightening on this verse and on Shri Balram Purnima also. Like you glorified Lord. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for your encouragement words.
Hare Krishna devotees, do you have any questions or any comments, any realization you want to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhuji, for information on Balaram Jayanti. I would like to wish everyone happy Balaram Jayanti today.
Thank you, Guru. Okay, I think it appears to be.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my Danat Pranam to you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. I was driving, but one question is there, like Lord Balram is elder to Lord Krishna, right? So
Yes.
he's elder only by a few days only, right? Because Janmashtami is coming on the 6th of September.
Yes.
Just by a few days.
Yes.
Okay, I thought maybe there were a couple of years there.
No, they both were small. We see in Krishna book when they're playing, both Balram and Krishna are playing in their backyard, holding the tails of calves. So both of them are small.
Both are small, yeah.
Small in age, yes.
And also, Prabhuji, you were talking about the prarabdha, the karma, and all the you mentioning. I was hearing a little bit that. So, but once we come into bhakti, then we don't really concern ourselves so much with that. We just do our bhakti, our duties, and and anyway, devotees say that even if the negative things come, it's a mercy of Krishna, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So then we don't bother. Is that one of the reasons we don't bother, or there's some other reason also where we can just not focus on all these, whatever is fructifying and whatever is happening?
When we take up bhakti, that's what talks about klesha agni. We are burning the seed as such. When we burn the seed, then there is no component of want to commit that sinful activity. Like as we are all grosthas, maybe it may not be appropriate in speaking in public, but then just for our understanding, we can talk about it. It may not be very decent, but then like once when you perform the sexual activity, even though there is a pleasure in that activity, but what is that aprarabdha comes onto that is we want to perform this activity again and again and again and again, which is considered as the highest sense gratification in this material world. Like if somebody is stealing somebody stealing handbags or something like that, then this propensity, if they caught or if they don't caught also, there is this propensity of doing that activity again. It comes as such. That's why we call it as from aprarabdha comes the bijam. Then again you feel like doing that activity again. But when we take up a devotional service, what we are saying is that that bijam is that the one which we are burning it as such. We are putting on the fire. So the intention to perform that activity again will not appear within the devotees as such. That is which we can see, that is called as the klesha, which is the initial characteristics of the devotional service. But then again, some may say that, oh yeah, I saw the devotees still continue to do that what the devotee was doing before coming to devotional service. It depends on the type of conditioning they were in before taking up a devotional service. This condition will be so strong, sometimes one may continue to do it. Even though we take up a devotional service, like Prabhupada gives an example, like when you turn off fan, that does not mean that fan stops, comes to standstill immediately. It continue to rotate, but slowly it comes to standstill. So even though we take up a devotional service, still the residues, remnants are still there, but eventually they will go to come down as such. So that portion is there as such. So the bijam, it will be frying up, so the one may not be having that feeling to perform that activity again. That is the characteristic. Now, when it comes to the taking, isn't that we are not getting a distresses? Yes, we get distresses as such. But then how devotees are taking it, like as you mentioned it, devotees consider that is the mercy of Krishna. Our devotees consider that is our previous karma, whatever we have done, that is coming upon us. But irrespective of it, whether it is coming upon us or not coming upon us, as one continue to take up devotional service, then one gets the relief from those distress as such. So one continue to take, like if somebody is got into the disease, that's the only relief for the disease is to take medicine. So without taking a medicine, one cannot expect that will be going away the disease as such. So the same way, when there is a distress comes, yes, it is not that one should not try and mitigate that, but at the same time, one has to take a shelter of the Supreme Lord. And that way, that will give us the relief and gives us then understanding how we can handle that situation as such. That's okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Also, Prabhuji, like just a very practical thing, like if somebody is, there's a boy who's doing bhakti and at the same time, he's also on a different path, leading a double life, I would say, as informed by some devotees to me and the authority in the temple. So then, like outside, they're breaking the regulative principles, but in the temple, they're coming and like posing like a devotee. So how do we understand, how do we show compassion to a person like that? Because it's like, in our mind, it comes that, oh, this person is acting out smart, trying to behave like that outside and, like keeping relationship with girls and eating onion, garlic, everything. But when he comes to temple, he becomes, a devotee. So what should be our behavior towards a person like that? It's just like a preaching question, basically. I don't want to commit an offense, So few temple authority came to know about one boy. So I just wanted to ask, maybe I could get some helpful information here.
When Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, apiche sucheta durachar, even if one falls down, Krishna considers them as a devotee. So, I mean, my question will be all the time, who is not having a double standard? Can you show anybody? Even though we are all practicing devotional service, can we put our right hand on our left side and then say, I am not double standard, I am fully through and through. Whoever is seeing me, through me, it is the only one. There is no double in it. Like as is, I say most of the times this, Sachinandra Maharaj talks about this thing. When the guest comes to our house, we talk to them nicely and everything is done. When the guest is leaving our house, as the guest step out of our door, we close the door and we latch the door. When we turn back, are we the same? What we are with the guest and now who we are. Are we the same or is there any difference? If both are same, then there is no double standard. That's only single standard. So this may be varying at a different degrees as such, this double standard. Like once in one of the Mataji, she was talking about when we said that we have a guest at our house. Then Mataji said, oh yeah, guest is there, then all the drama starts now, she says. Means when the guest is there, then we try to do drama. That is getting up morning 4 o'clock, chanting Hare Krishna mantra, and doing deity worship, or preparing bhoga, and then offering it to Lord. All these things will happen. When guest is not there at home, when we are to ourselves, then we do what we like to do. Not getting up, we get up late and all. So who is that is not having a double standard in this material? Or who is that who is not having double standard in the devotee circle as such? Only thing is it may vary to different degrees as such, as they may be doing it more of a gross level, or we are doing it at more of a subtle level as such. When we chant in the temple hall, then we don't take up our phone. But when we are at home and chanting, then we take up our phone and try to browse through the phone and try to look into things. We do this. I do it at least. So that's a double standard. In front of in the temple, I as if say, I have full concentration on doing japa. But when I am at home, then I try to go through the phones. There I'm showing a double standard at some certain level, at higher level. So we are all having a double standard. So only thing is we give relaxation for ourselves. When it comes to relaxation for others, then we try to be strict with them. No, we cannot. You should not be doing that, or she should not be doing that. That is very bad. That's very wrong. So one thing we should understand is everybody needs their own space to come up to the devotional service. The fact that he is coming to the temple, the fact that he is associating with the devotees, sure he will become. Sure enough, he will become devotee. The devotees, how we have to behave with them is we can see from Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Mukunda is associating with the Mayavadis, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him that I do not want to see you because you are associated with the Mayavadis and you are becoming a Mayavadi. So I don't want to see you in Mahaprakash Leela. Then what did devotees do? Devotees were begging Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please, allow him, please do something so that he can see you. This is the mood of a devotee. Maybe that is at a more of a higher level when what we see. But let's go and see at the lower level also. Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about it. When Kale Krishna is with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going into South Indian tour, and then he got attracted by these Bhattaharis, and then he went to them, associated with their girls. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved him and then brought him back and then told him, this is your Kale Krishna. I don't want to associate with him. I don't want him anymore. What did devotees do? Did they throw him out of the association of the devotees? No. Devotees prayed to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that something they can be engaged in the service of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what did they do? They engaged Kale Krishna Das in sending the message to Mother Sachi, to Mayapur. That is the nature of a devotee. The nature of a devotee is not judgmental. Nature of a devotee is to be compassionate. Pray for the devotee. Beg forgiveness for the devotee from Supreme Lord. And ask Supreme Lord to show mercy unto the devotee so that the devotee can become more strong. So this is the devotee. It's not that the devotee had a mistake, he had done a mistake, so we need to punish this devotee. According to rules and regulations, we have to punish them. Like we had some incidents in New Vrindavan. I agree, devotee committed a mistake. It's a very blunder and it's very gross. One cannot even think of that they committed it. But are we in a position to really judge the devotee? Where Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is talking about Chaitanya Charitamrita? We are not the one who are going to judge. But as a devotee, we should show compassion to the Vaishnavas. Already we have so many less devotees. And then if we try to judge them, the fact that one becomes a devotee, one trying to become a devotee, is that they are so much tired with this material, and they are trying to take shelter of the devotees. And when we try to shoo them away, when you try to push them away, where do they go? They have taken a shelter of Supreme Lord and they have taken a shelter of devotees as such. So that compassion we should be having within us. When we think in this way, and that encourages the devotee, who knows, in a day they will become pure devotees as such. I hope that helps, Mataji.
Yes, definitely, Prabhuji. Like compassion is the key word. And then, like you said, the very fact that he's coming means he will eventually, lose that taste and get on track of bhakti. Yeah, thank you so much for the encouraging answer.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. For such a wonderful class, Prabhuji, as usual. Thank you so much for this nectarian class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for encouraging words.
Anyone has any question or comment? Otherwise, we can end up the call here. Okay. So, Vancha Kalpatarvyascha Kripa
Yascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Bhagavatam ki jai. His Grace Shri Badarayani Prabhuji ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Radhe
Hare
Radhe.
Krishna.